Hi, I'm Josh. I love all things small business here in the UK. I truly believe that small businesses are the future of the UK economy. And if you're watching this video, I'm guessing you're either interested in starting one or have maybe taken that first step. I've got some tangible tips that you can do today that are going to help you take this journey and hopefully be a fantastic business owner. So we've got a little presentation and we're going to work through different sections. But before we begin, I just want to start with this statement. You don't need a sledgehammer to crack a nut versus systemize everything from day one. Now, the reason I wanted to sort of share that as a starting point is you can kind of get very intense from day one and very granular in terms of systems, processes, and that becomes a lot of effort. And I think what a lot of people get wrong is they build all the infrastructure, but they've got no revenue and got no sales. It would be great to prove that concept first. Get your first sale or get a couple of people interested. Start an online form and collect some submissions of people who are interested in your product, as opposed to just building everything. And then on the other side of that, which I probably am more on this side, is systemize everything from day one. And I think you have to sort of prove that concept. But once you've got that concept proven, then really start your SOPs, start building systems so that you can scale quickly, as opposed to sort of having not so good systems and processes, getting 2-3 years down the line and then having to start again. But just to be clear, get your first sale or get your people interested as quickly as you can, because if it doesn't work, you're going to make a lot of effort for no return. If we move on now to sort of Companies House, which is your first step in registering the company, it's pretty easy and the UK government website is excellent. You just got to head to this link, fill in the details. Now, the only thing I'd say is a lot of people I see, they do this step and it's like, oh, that's it. I've made it. I've got my company. Well, we see so many, you can register a company very quickly and easily. That's just a sort of a very first step. Don't forget though, it's a legal requirement to keep that up to date. So things like confirmation statements, filing your accounts, and I just put on here, typical Yorkshireman over here, it's £34 a year now just to file a confirmation statement, plus your accounts, plus everything else. So just to operate a business, realistically, you're going to be in the £700 to £800 mark just to complete the documentation that's required, and I'm including accounting in that. The next thing you'll need is a business bank account, and the statement I've made here is really important. It's so important that you separate the business's finances from your personal finances. They're separate things. They're a completely separate entity. You might own shares in that business, but it's separate from you. What I would recommend is Wise. It's what I personally use. And essentially it's £45 to set it up. You can open a pound account, a USD account and a euro account, which will come in handy regardless of the business that you use, because at some point you'll make that transition. You might buy from overseas. And essentially the key thing here is that you earn interest on all of your balances. And what you'll see is that there's a lot of different options for bank accounts. Most of them won't offer an option to accrue interest, especially if you don't lock it away. Wise offers that from day one, and you don't have to lock your money away for 3, 6, 12 months. The next thing I'd just start to think about is FX and overseas payments. You might think, I'm never going to use that. I'm a UK completely operating business. Well, I'd be surprised if you don't at some point buy something off Alibaba overseas and import it. I'd be very surprised. And therefore, you need to start to think about getting the best FX rates. Now, without doubt, at the moment, the best FX rates are with Atlantic Money. I'd fully recommend them. They charge £3 per transaction. And otherwise, you can spend a lot of money. And you'll see that they'll offer you to pay in pounds or dollars. If you're smart with your FX, you'll pay in dollars and you'll do the FX yourselves. If it's something a little bit more complicated, I would recommend Money Corp. And the reason I'd recommend Money Corp is, say you were paying pounds in, I don't know, Turkey, With Wise, that would auto convert that to Lira, whereas MoneyCorp is going to send the same transaction amount to that person or that organization. Moving on, we have automations, not people. Now, if you've watched any of the videos on this channel, you know how much I love automations. They completely take away requirements for administration people, customer service, some elements of HR, and especially for your people joining your business, what you need to do is give them the opportunity to succeed. If you give them a blank piece of paper, they don't know what they're doing. But if you've got systems that they work with and that help them, they'll enjoy their job as opposed to getting very stressed about not knowing what they're doing. And that's where you'll see my favorite make.com is the one. And that comment at the bottom there is so true. Systems scale, but people burn out. The other thing here, regardless of whether you're going down the sales marketing route and then systems processes after, which we talked about on the first slide, is have some kind of SOP from day one. So have some kind of standard operating procedure, even if it's just an A4 template, because you're going to need to refer back to that, and it's going to make you better. Because what you'll do is you'll write it and it'll be rubbish. So you'll write it and you'll be like, that's terrible. And then you'll redo it and it'll make it 10 times better. The next one is having a good accountant, and this will pay for itself over and over and over if you get it right. If you get it wrong, it's one of the most painful things. There's only one point in a business where you have £0 in your bank account, and that makes your life easier. Once it's wrong for 3 years, you then have to work backwards and try and get it right. So I would strongly recommend from that first time you set up, get your accounting procedures, get everything in place once you start taking those first pounds. And that's the balance here that we're always weighing up is, yes, we want amazing systems and processes, but we have to get that revenue coming in. The other thing here, and the key one here, is employer's liability. This is a legal requirement if you employ people in the UK. So I'd strongly recommend, if you're taking on people, you must have employer's liability cover. ChatGPT is going to be your best friend for these. However, do make sure it's actually legal and actually covers you off. You don't want to get yourself in a position where your terms, your contracts are not in a good state. So take some time to make sure those are done. And then just building a client database. I know I harp on about this, but the amount of businesses that receive data and don't have it stored somewhere is crazy. Just start with a Google Sheet. Start with a basic Google Sheet, the dates, the contacts, because remember that relationships are everything in business. People buy from people. So you have to forge that relationship, and knowing where you're at with that person, that business, that organization will allow you to then dedicate your time to the right individuals and organizations. Now, this is sort of a litmus test for me, this one. Is whenever I sort of purchase from a business, I always have a little just glance at their email address. And if it says at Gmail or at Hotmail, I just think, yeah, these guys aren't that pro. So it's very, very cheap now to get your own email address. We have, my personal favorite is using Cloudways for email hosting and actually website hosting. They offer a $1 a month package. So you can then have your own domain name, and you can then send emails from, in this case, hello@joshthompson.co.uk, as opposed to josh@gmail.com. Just it's a basic, and get it set up, and the cost isn't too significant. Next thing, you've done all that, you're kind of getting there, you've maybe got your first sort of sale, or you're on your way to your first few leads. It's time for your first hire. Now, what I've put here is ensure this is a contractor, not an employee. And if it's your first time working with people, then go for someone off Fiverr, Upwork, Indeed. Grab someone that can come in and offer you, I don't know, some SEO work or some marketing work, and give them 5-10 hours and see how it works. You might find it's all perfect and all works well. And if you are, then double down on that person, because they're very difficult to find. But you also might find that they don't do the work, or they don't do it on time, or it's not to the required quality. And what you need to work out is how you manage that, how you handle that emotionally, how you handle that mentally, because people are challenging and people are amazing. And it's all about finding the ones that work well with you and get things done to your required standard and to your required timeline. And that's why a contractor is so much easier than an employee. And if it's your first sort of go, overseas is going to be the one, because the labor costs in the UK are quite high. And if you can leverage sort of a lower cost of living country, that's going to be a great solution. So understanding what the difference is between the two. A contractor is sort of someone that you give a specific task to. You don't tell them you have to start at 9 and finish at 5. You say, I need this task done. Here's the deadline. Away you go. Whereas an employee, it's a far more structured. Hourly, you come in at this hour, you finish at this hour. And there's a lot more sort of HR obligations with an employee than a contractor. That's kind of it, guys. I really do wish you the most success. If you get stuck with anything, or you just think this isn't working, please feel free to send me a message. My genuine authenticity with this video is just to get people having a go and trying to start their own business or trying to work their way through. And if we can do that, then I believe we're going to unlock an absolute powerhouse in the UK economy. Good luck, and let me know how you get on.